Yay! It's recording.
Yay!
Fingers crossed everything works okay tonight. Oh, I am going to go and mute everybody. So I want to welcome you guys to our Life Ignited team call. Obviously, we have more than just Life Ignited here. We have Inspiration here, which is awesome because we all love Shay, so we might as well share the love. And she's going to talk to us tonight about something that is going to hit all of us at some point. Shay is an awesome mom of 3 kids now. She was working full time and rocking her coach business with her 2 girls and went and added a sweet baby boy and took the leap to stay home and coach full time now that her husband's finally out of school. So it's been quite a transition, right? And that's what she's going to share with us tonight. So I'm going to kick it over to you, Shay.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited, Candace. I was really honored that you asked me to be on your call. So first and foremost, I want to let you guys know before I speak on this topic is like a work in progress for me. So it's definitely something that's like super, super close to home, like as we speak. And right now I'm actually at my mom's house here in West Texas, which is about 10 hours from my home. And I'm here with my 7-month-old son. And what's really cool is the fact that I can be here totally stress-free because I did get to stay home with my son. And like I would have had to, take off a time work and, a lot of things. I mean, it still was a challenge to get here with my other kids and figuring out daycare. But the fact that I could be here without worrying about like PTO and time off and things like that, it's cool. Like, it's just cool. And I can still work my business and I can get on a team call and it's just really neat. But with that, I want to talk about a little bit about my story about, kind of how I got into coaching, where I was at for really the last 4 years of my business. So when I first started as a coach, I got in for the discount. I didn't really understand the business, but I loved Shakeology. I was a nutritionist by trade. I love all things health and like healthy eating, and fitness was just kind of like, yeah, I know I need to work out, but I always worked out in a gym. I always was an athlete, and I was kind of introduced to the business, and I really only joined to get the discount on Shakeology. I started out and I was like dabbling in kind of the workout programs, but trying to do them at the gym. And long story short, it took me a year to become a diamond. And I did this when I actually became a coach. I borrowed money to buy my first challenge pack. Like, we were broke, like broke. I did not do this with any really intention of the business. Then I was like, oh, I can get my Shakeology paid for. You've probably heard the story before. I had a 2 and a 4-year-old at the time. I was working full time at a gym, working about 45 hours a week, and I was totally on their schedule. I ended up leaving the gym, going and working a full-time sales job in the IT world. And at the same time, my husband decided to go back to school. So I'm sharing this to just show like my life was crazy. I had a 2-year-old, I had a 4-year-old. My husband decided to go back to school full time. We don't live anywhere near family. I'm working full time and also trying to do this business part-time and at least earn my Shakeology. And eventually, within about a year and a half, I started earning enough income to where he was able to quit his part-time job because he was also working part-time nights. So like the beginning of my business was just crazy and chaotic. But, it took me about, I say a year, I think it was about 9 months to become diamond. And that's when I really got the vision of, okay, like I could probably do something with this business. And then my first goal was, okay, I want to bring home my husband from his part-time income, so he could focus on school full time. But, I just share that not to like share, the successes or just to understand like my life was busy. And then he was able to quit his job and focus on school full time. But that didn't mean any really less busyness because he decided to become, sorry, I don't know, I got a call. He decided to become an engineer. He took 1 year of undergrad and was like, I'm good at math and I want to be an engineer. And I was like, I thought you were going to be like a football coach. Like, seriously, like engineer's like the hardest degree ever. So like full-time load. I mean, school was, anyway, it was just crazy. And I always had in the back of my mind, like, I saw all these coaches who were working the business thinking, oh, well, they don't work. So like, it's just easy. Like they don't work. So it's easy to work the business. So someday I'll be able to be home and it'll be easy for me. So right now, if I can just kind of get to a good point when he gets to work full time and I work, you know, I'll be able to quit my job and then I'll be able to grow. And so anyway, just kind of I took some notes here to kind of keep me on track, but that's like always what I was thinking. And I always said, like, I compared their chapter 10 to my chapter 1. Like when I see these top coaches, like working at home, having nannies, like all these things, like I forget like what it took to get to that point, that I like, when I finally got to quit my job, I had my son in September and I was like, here we go. It's on, game on, time to grow my business. At that point, I had achieved lifetime 2-star. My business had dropped and I was like kind of back and forth between a diamond and a 1-star. But I was like, well, as soon as I go full time, it'll be easy. I'll just grow, you know, because I'll be working the business full time. So I had my son in September. And I was like, okay, game on, here we go. Well, let me just say, so wrong, like so wrong on so many levels, because I didn't realize when you're home, there's so many more distractions. Like, I mean, then you're full-time homemaker. There's, you know, no excuse for you not getting the things done at home. And I was like, okay, like I thought my business was going to grow. Like, here we are. Like, I'm either stagnant or sometimes backsliding, and I'll take a step forward. I'm like, what is going on? So it was hard for me. And part of the reason was because I was trying to do it all. I was trying to be full-time mom, full-time homemaker, wife, running the household. Like I was like, give it all to me, because I'm stay-at-home mom now, but I'm also trying to work a full-time business. And I quickly learned that my expectations were way too high. And I was setting myself up for failure, 100% setting myself up for failure, because I learned that you cannot be great at all things. You just can't be great at all things. You can be good at some things or average at some things and be really good at others. And I've had to do a lot of self-evaluations over the past few months of what do I really want to be great at? Because I cannot be great in all things, because I'm running myself ragged, and the things that are actually having I guess a not detriment to, but who are being affected the most are the things that are the most important of why I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom in the first place and why I wanted to work this business in the first place. Because you just can't do it all. And I've learned that really the hard way. Somebody said, you know, to me, it's okay to be average at some things so you can be great at other things. You can't be great at everything. And I think that was just like really something that's hit home for me in the last few months, was that I've got to set my expectations a little bit lower for myself and just be okay with having, you know, not having this perfect, immaculate house and my kids having these perfect lunches and my husband having these perfect lunches and me just being this, like, I don't know, like, what's like an old school, you know, perfect stay-at-home mom and work a full-time business. Like those perfect what I can't even think of the word I'm thinking, like a show that we used to watch, like where the mom was like all perfect, and you know, the husband came home and it's like, hey honey, well, how was your day? I've got dinner on the table, the kids are bathed, everything's great. Well, they didn't have a full-time job that they're trying to build too, you know. It's just Brady Bunch. Yes, Brady Bunch would be a good one. But somebody recommended the book Essentialism to me. I don't know if you guys have heard of this book. Micah talks about this book. She was like, you got to read this book. I will say the audio version versus the book version, I would prefer the actual reading versus the audio. I love his accent. It sounds amazing, but it's kind of hard to follow. And so I would say get the actual book version. I started the audio version. I got a lot out of it, but I'd say get the actual book version. But it just talks about, if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to build your business, there are things that are essential, and then there's the other stuff. And if you have these things that you want in life, you can't do all the other stuff. You just can't. And you got to be able to let it go. And that was really hard for me to just be able to let it go, because I had in my mind what the perfect stay-at-home mom was. And I had to do a lot of self-work, and I'm still working on that. Whoever put this picture in my mind of whatever the stay-at-home, that was on me. Nobody else was expecting me to behave that way, to look that way, but I was putting it on myself. And I had to reprioritize and ask myself, what is your why? Because my why was to stay at home with my children. I specifically remember, Candace, I don't know if you remember this. We were at a Josh Coates event, and I was not pregnant with my son yet, but I know I wanted a third kid at that point. But I said, I'm ready to be at home. And it was Tara and you right there. And I remember getting teary-eyed, and I was like, I just want to be home with my kids. I'm tired of not being home and always missing out on all the stuff. And now that I'm home, and it's like this big, huge blessing and something I've been praying for and something I've been wishing, I'm not even loving it because I'm so worried about the other crap. And I had to remind myself of, why was it that I wanted to stay at home to begin with? And even if your goal is not to be a stay-at-home mom, that's totally fine. But you have to ask yourself, what is your why? Why did you get into this business? Why are you doing what you're doing? And sometimes we let the other crap boggle us down to get to the real reason of the why. And so for me, it was to stay at home with my kids, and trying to do it all was really robbing me of my joy of my current situation. The fact that I got to get pregnant with my third child that I'd been waiting and wanting forever. I finally got him, and I got to be home, and I was so unhappy because I was trying to still do it all. So that was a big one for me. What is most important right now? I had to ask myself, what is most important right now? So you got dishes, you've got laundry, and there's so many other things that are trying to pull you in all these different directions. But what is most important right now? Have I worked out? Have I got the sleep that I needed? Have I done my power hour, and have I done my vitals? Those are actually the most important, besides, taking care of the kids and getting them off to school and making sure they're fed and things like that. But the housework, or, what all that was, that can wait. But when I went back to, okay, why did this work when I was working full time? Why was my business actually growing? And why was I doing so much better when I was working full time? It was because I was so much more intentional. And for some reason, I had that excuse that I could let that other stuff go. So I had to give myself permission on letting the other stuff go. And so even if right now your season is working full time, or maybe your season is you're in the midst of little kids, or maybe your season is your kids have already grown and now they're in school. The point is that I don't think that it gets any easier, or I don't think that it gets better if you're always waiting on the next season, because every season brings challenges, and every season brings change, and every season brings so much just different things. When your kids get older, you have after school activities. When you used to work your business at night, now you can't. If you're working full time, you might be able to work your business in a lot of those little power pockets. But then whenever it's just, I think that it was just a really big eye opener to me that just because I was stay at home now, it did not mean that business was going to be easy. And I just, I put a post, I don't know if you guys saw on Team Inspiration, I almost apologized, but I just said that to all wherever you're at in your business, don't hold off for pushing towards your goals and pushing towards your dreams because you're waiting for that next season. because that's kind of what I did. And I look back and I'm like, man, I wish I would have pushed back then, because it didn't get any easier with this next season. And now that I'm in this season, I don't want to wait until, you know, my son's now 7 months old. And I'm like, okay, when he gets 2 and I can put in maybe in another Mother's Day out, and then my kids are in school, then I'll push my business. No, like it's something else will come. Who knows what life will bring at that next season. So don't hold off on pushing towards your goals and pushing towards that why, and reminding yourself of this, why you got in this business to begin with, because you're waiting for the next season. And I also encourage you not to wait for that next season to rob you of the joy that you're at right now in the present. Think about the blessings that you have right now, whether it is, if you are working full time, how cool it is that you can work full time and work this business and bring 2 incomes, because that was a big challenge. Like, I had to leave a corporate job for this, to pursue this business. And that was scary, leaving an income that was like promised every 2 weeks. I knew exactly what I was making. And now it's like the pressure and it's completely on me. And yeah, there's so much growth and so much potential and so much that I can do. It's still scary. And so, you know, I think with no matter where you're at in this business, whether you want to work at full time, whether you want to work at part time, whether you're working full time, part time in another job, have little ones, don't have kids, do have kids. I just think that you have to figure out how to make the business work with where you're at right now, whether that's being able to work a full hour and a power hour, whether that's to work those little power pockets. I was the queen of power pockets. That is literally how I built my business. But now in the season that I'm in, I don't have those 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes that I had of totally uninterrupted time. And so it's like, wow, I thought it was hard back then in the power pockets. Now I got to actually probably make some business time while he's napping and not do laundry and not do dishes. And it's like restructuring my mind and restructuring my business. So I will say one other thing also is, if you have a spouse, communicating with your spouse on, okay, these are the things that are pulling me away from my business. What could you help me with? Or tell them specifically, it would help me so much if you'd help, if you could take the responsibility for laundry and I will do dishes or something like that. Because if you know somebody else is going to do that thing, even it might not be like right now. I know for me mentally, if I see a basket of laundry, but I know, hey, even if on the weekends Mitch is going to get to it, okay, that's fine. That's my husband, Mitch. But communicate with your spouse if you have one, share responsibilities, and let go of any expectations. Yes, Candace, even my kids have so many chores. I now have an allowance where they actually have to earn. They do chores, but it's helped so much because they do more. But let go of any expectations. Like I know for me, I put so much pressure and expectations on myself. But when I started thinking about it, like, where do these come from? Where do these things of this picture perfect, whatever, career woman, what is that supposed to look like? Are you supposed to always have it together? Or, whatever, or the stay-at-home mom or the working mom or the whatever. Let go of the expectations. You have to focus on just you and your journey and what that looks like, and not comparing, like I said, your chapter 1 to their chapter 10, because you don't know what it took to get them there. And so that's just kind of some things that I've learned over these last few months. My son is now 7 months old. Like I said, it's still a work in progress. He's changing with the seasons. My kids are changing with their seasons. And I just learned really hard fall flat on my face hard these last few months, that you just have to work this business with the season that you're in and accept it and embrace it and have fun with it and enjoy it. And never forget, the most important thing is yourself. You have to keep your cup full by doing your workout no matter what. drinking your shake, taking time to meal prep, and getting enough sleep. You have to put yourself at the core if you want this business to work. From there, you do your vitals and all that stuff. Everything else will flow. Because if not, if you don't put yourself at the core, it'll just always feel just chaotic. Because that was kind of, that was my thing, is I was forgetting that I needed to rest. I was forgetting that I needed to meal prep, and I was just kind of eating on the go. And I was reminded by another coach that that's the most important. If that's all you get done and you share that, hey, at least you're sharing that and you're getting yourself taken care of. So, that was kind of what I just wanted to share tonight on my experience the last few months. And I was talking to Candace on the cruise, and she came to me and she was like, talk about that. I think that would be really cool. So anyway, I hope that helps some of you.
Excellent choice. So good. I knew as soon as you mentioned the seasons of life and coaching, I was like, yeah, because you've literally hit like every season that we know of in your time as a coach. So I loved it. Thank you so much. I loved a couple of things that I wanted to hit on that I really appreciated. You mentioned like we tend to discount what we do as coaches as not working. Like, we're running a business. Just because you quit your job and you're at home now doesn't mean you're not working. We are working in this business. And so we tend to discredit the time we spend on our business. And like you said, you get this guilt complex that the house isn't perfect and the meals aren't perfect because
what's funny is when we work outside the home, we're able to let that go, and we're okay with it.
Yes.
And I was actually listening to a call with Jamie Fitzpatrick, and she's like, what's the difference? You work outside the home. When you're working inside the home, you're still working. Like,
yes.
Why are you okay with letting it go?
Much.
Yeah. It's like, but that's hard to get our brains to wrap around, because in our minds, we're a stay-at-home mom as opposed to I'm a working mom. I'm still a working mom. My office just happens to be inside my home.
Exactly. Well, and I feel like this is a disconnect that we unfortunately share with our followers and our potential coaches, because we talk so much about staying home and working from home, and I love my community. I love my job. I love that I can be here for the kids at all times of the day. And we don't talk about it like this is work. This is a business. And so they come in thinking it's just going to be a party. And then we're like, oh, you have to do some work now. You just started a business. And they're like, what? So I think that disconnect translates into how we're promoting what we do. And people are blindsided by the fact that we work our tails off to get to these points that we're sharing in our business. So I think that's a really, really important point. I love the fact that you have your vision. Obviously, we all have this big vision of what we want to do with this business, but I love that you broke it down, because you mentioned when you were working and then you started coaching, and your next goal was to get Mitch home from his part-time job because he was gone all the time and you wanted to have a little bit of his time back. And so you hustled for that little goal, and then you met that goal, and then it was, let's get Mitch through school. And then it was, okay, baby's coming, let's get me home from work. So I just love that you kind of baby stepped your way to this ultimate vision. That was still part of why you were hustling, but you had those baby steps so that you had something immediate to really push for. I think that's super important. We forget to set intermediate goals that we can actually achieve.
Yeah, for sure.
Do any of you guys have any questions for Shay or any comments that you want to share?
I was going to look in the comments. I didn't see.
Mostly all of us saying so much yes.
Oh.
This is my life.
If you guys, even, for some of the ones that are moms, I know there's, I think one on here that's not a mom, is that book, if you have not listened to Girl Wash Your Face, Rachel, her new book. yeah, her new book was so good.
Oh yeah, Girl Stop Apologizing was
so
way better than the first one.
Oh my gosh, so much better than Girl Wash Your Face.
Yes.
And I'm on, I can't remember what, but she talks about mom guilt. She talks about, I don't know. She talks about working her bit and being like, she's like, I love to work. I love to hustle, but I also love to be a mom. I don't know. It was just really good. So
she helps you kind of learn how to think like a businesswoman and still be a mom.
Yeah.
And that's just something we all have to embrace. We are running a business. We are business women by making this choice to grow this business. So she really helps you to get into that right mindset for sure.
Yeah. And then the
summit is going to be amazing.
Yes, I can't wait.
Amazing.
Yeah. So anyway, that's another book recommendation.
This is the book. If you guys have not read Essentialism, it's a must. Get it. It's Greg McKeown. He's Scottish. I like his accent too.
That's what I'm saying. He's fun to listen to, but the book is, maybe do both. Do the audio and the book. He's fun.
I'll get an audio, and if I love it, then I still get the hard copy so that I can mark it up. And I'll have both if it's a good enough book. So Essentialism is really good, and kind of along the same track, I wanted to share this with you guys. The one thing, I don't remember the author. Who is that?
Gary Keller.
Yeah. Keller Real Estate, right? So this one, he's talking kind of like you talked about, you can't be good at all the things. You can't be great at everything. You have to find your thing that you're really going to focus on, that you're going to put your time and effort into. And that's what he talks about, and how it can just skyrocket your success if you focus on where you're good and let somebody else handle the stuff that you're not good at. So those are both really good ones to kind of help you just focus in on the important things. And like Shay said, don't allow those most important things that you're working so hard to achieve be sacrificed because of all the little things. Like sacrificing time with your kids because you have to have a clean house. Which one is it? So just kind of get straight with your priorities and keep renewing your passion for what you're doing every single day. And it brings so much power. So, all right, ladies, if there's no other questions or comments, we will wrap this up.
Thank you for having me on your call, Candace. Thanks for everybody who jumped on here too.
Do it. She's my buddy.
Everybody jumping on here, yeah.
She's the one who gets me a little wild and crazy as far as that goes. We have stories.
You guys need to come on the trips. We have a lot of fun on the trips.
You got to come on the trip so you have these kind of, secrets.
Yeah.
Thanks you guys so much for getting on tonight.